Hello, this is Dr. Eddie Weller. Wow, I'm just telling you, it's amazing to hear the different stories when people talk to me about how their body reacted when they saw this, or when they were watching this movie and they started to cry, or they were falling in love and their butterflies were going crazy and they ate that food and oh my gosh, I felt awful. Or every time I think about this person, it makes me so mad. Why is that? Thoughts always become things. I think all of the time. And I say that when I think all the time because I'm pondering, because we really have, are you ready? 2 brains. I know it's hard to digest. I get it. But we have 2 brains. One that we think with, and the other one that keeps us alive. See, when I have this diagram up in the office, and I always chit-chat, this intelligence, this universal intelligence, this wisdom, this abundant thing, creator of all, called God. Yep, I said it. God. God is the great I am. And it created everything you can possibly imagine, right? We all agree that there's this intelligence. Even atheists would go, no, there's no such thing. Yeah, but there's something that came from something that came from something. And the beginning of all, what happened? Was it this big bang that created this randomness of this thing? No. There was an intelligence that put it all together. And it knew all. Here's the thing, though. As your heart beats, and the millions of other things that are happening inside of your body, something is in control of that. I call it your nervous system, or your neurological system, neurologic, logic in the nerve, wisdom, intelligence, knowledge, knowing all. Yeah. It's inside of us. But I really want to get into the thought process of our brain and how our body reacts to the stressors. So I'm going to share. I had nightmares the last 2 nights. And it was just crazy. It was all based on thought, of course, as you have no control of your dreams. They just happen. But this dream was due to a physical experience that I recently experienced in Moab, Utah. I was with a group of friends that I was blessed to be part of. We went Jeep riding. And we're riding these Jeeps through, and I've never done this before. I own a Jeep. I've got Jeep 35-inch tires and having a big time, fun with it and all that good stuff. However, I've never really taken it off-road like this. When you go to Moab, Utah, it is another world. You feel like you're on Mars. It's really something else. You have to visit. It's unbelievable. So I'm out there, we rented these Jeeps with big tires, and it's ready to go, drop the air in the tires, and we're climbing these mountains. And as we climb these mountains, we're going up and through these little caverns and splashing through water, and then we get to these big boulders, and we're climbing these boulders. It's amazing what these vehicles can do. And we get to this place called Top of the World. And if you've never been there, it looks like somebody took an ice cream scooper out of the side of this mountain and carved it vertically, straight down, almost like a butter knife, straight down. Some mountains, they gradual, you can go on up. No, this one, as we made it out the backside, if you would, up to the top of this mountain, it is straight down. Wind is blowing, and you kind of look over the edge, you're like, my palms right now are sweating. No kidding, are sweating right now thinking about it. Because it's just crazy, this reaction the body's having to a thought. I'm going to get into that. So we get up to the top of this mountain, and in front of mine, Mike, he's standing up there, and Mike is waving his buddy. I mean, literally, he's 2-3 feet from the edge of this cliff, if you will, and he's standing there, and there's a plaque there, like a Jeep plaque, where they shoot the Jeep commercials. Gosh, my palms are still sweating. And so my buddy Sean is pulling on up to this thing in his gorgeous Jeep, pulling on up to it, and he stops. He's like, okay, so he's about 4 foot away from about, I don't even know how many thousand feet straight down. It's craziness. It's not hundreds of feet. It's way down. And so I'm looking at him like, I can't look. How many times have you been there, right? When something happens, you're like, oh, I'm not going to look. You don't even have to look because you're still thinking about it. And your body's still having that reaction. It's having that thought. Because again, when I talk about the 2 brains, we have an innate brain and then we have an educated brain. And so when I talk about the innate brain, this brain that is inside of us that is keeping us alive, like your heart's beating right now, your stomach's making acid, you new liver every 6 weeks. I always talk about body factoids all the time because I'm amazed on how this thing works without us thinking about it. But the other side of us thinking about it as I speak to you, and hopefully this goes into your ears or you're watching me, and you can see and hear, interpret that into thought, and that thought relates to a story and you understand the topic of what I'm talking about. Yeah, we do this all of the time, and it doesn't really matter how fast, even words can be scrambled on a page, our brain still deciphers them. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. So here we are at the top of this thing, and the wind is blowing, right? And I'm looking on over the edge, and I think about me bringing my Jeep up there. This was the dream. I drive manual, stick shift. And so, yes, there are still cars that have them. And so I drive manual, and they're waving me up there. And in my dream, as I have, if you've ever driven clutch, you can feel it. There's 3 pedals. And you better know, you're not on the brake. Think about this. This was my dream. Golly, my palms are sweaty. So here's the thing. You're in a Jeep, and you're in a car at stick shift. And as you're driving this thing up to this cliff, you can't see over the hood because it is a vast emptiness over the hood because it drops straight down. And when you have automatic, your foot is on the brake. And you're allowing the car as it's in idle, but it's right. It'll move forward slower, and you can stop, and your foot is on the brake. And even if you're even more nervous, your hand could be on the emergency brake as you're pulling up forward to this cliff. Not with stick shift. So stick, you better know because you're on the gas and on the clutch. However, if you're kind of good at driving manual or stick shift, I can toot my horn a little bit. I'm pretty good at it. Is you can be on the brake and still let off the clutch, see that? And let off the clutch and do that and go back and forth without touching the accelerator. However, in my dream, I do that and I'm going up to my buddy like this and he gets to the close and my car starts bucking. This is in my dream. And it starts bucking back and forth because I'm getting nervous and my front tires start to lean up and over this cliff and I'm about to go over this cliff and I wake up. I'm literally out of breath. And I'm out of breath. I'm like, holy. And I sit up in bed. I am soaked. I'm sweating. My head is sweating. My palms are sweating. My chest is wet. I'm having a visceral reaction. And I sit up in bed. I'm like, oh gosh, thank God that wasn't real. Thank God that wasn't real. Right? And I'm sitting there. It's 2:33 in the morning. Crazy reaction to a thought. Our body reacted to a thought. And look what happened. Heart's racing. Why is the heart racing? I'm not doing any cardiovascular exercises, but why is my heart was pounding? Hands are sweating, right? I'm not doing cardio, so my hands are, all of these things are occurring right now. And then I get the cold sweats, you towel yourself off. I literally had to towel myself off and go back into bed. And take a deep breath and go, gosh, think about something else, think about something else, think about something else. Have you ever done that? Have you ever had that reaction? How many times have you seen something, even while you're conscious? As a dream, you're unconscious, but as you're conscious, maybe it's at a red light, and you almost see an accident, and you're like, how many times have you taken in with breath, where you go, isn't it always interesting, we cover our mouths too after we do that? Like, oh my gosh, we always put our hands to our face? Very, very interesting. Because we store those into thoughts. Remember that accident we saw 7 years ago where that woman hit this, and this, and that guy was this, or that dog was killed here, whatever that thing was, but you can't remember the meal you had that day, or something fun and constructive or pleasurable that happened that day. We always focus on, and it's stored on things that bring pain or a negative emotion for some reason, and we remember them. However, on the extreme of pleasurable emotion, we remember that as well. Like going to a Jeep riding, that whole experience. I'll never forget that. That was crazy. It was so much fun. And it's those kind of things. Remember that roller coaster we rode and so-and-so? Yeah, we did this. It was crazy. It was a lot of fun. Remember when you did that speaking engagement and I was on stage and there were all these people and everybody's cheering? That was fun. We remember the extremes of fun and we remember the extremes of things that are negative. And when we do that, our body's storing these things. So we have to learn to kind of decipher and really decipher what's not real, because when we think about things over and over and over, that illusion becomes reality for us. And that's what happens with our body. when it comes to our health. I all of the time, every single day, every day, there is someone that either texts, calls, or patients that see me that talks about the word my. It wasn't my dream that caused me to have that reaction. It was a dream. It was the dream. And my body reacted to it. Am I living that feeling right now? No, it was a dream. Doctor walks into the room with the white lab coat, sits down with you after going over a bunch of different tests and data, and states, this is your diagnosis. So then you come home and you share with your family. So what'd they say? I have X. I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter. There's hundreds of thousands, believe it or not, hundreds of thousands titles of the body not working the right way. Hundreds of thousands of them. And so now it becomes thought. So which thought are you going to have about it? Like, I got this. I don't care what they say, what this diagnosis is. Cool. Let it be it. I got this. Or my cancer, my tumor, my diabetes, my irritable bowel, my gout, my reflux, my headaches. I don't care what it is. My allergies. It doesn't matter what it is. You're claiming it. And when you claim it, your body reacts to that ownership. And when it reacts to that ownership, it will agree with you. How do I know? I love this analogy. If you would right now, as you're listening or maybe watching this, wiggle your toes. Do that for me. Wiggle your toes. Okay, I'm doing it too. All right, now stop. Now do it again. Now stop. How did you do that? Like, how did you wiggle your toes? You didn't think about the muscles contracting. I mean, there's a bunch of them, by the way, in your feet. I've seen them. I've held them in my hands through dissections. It's crazy just to see how our feet operate. And so when you wiggle your toes, how did that happen? That happened with a thought, because I asked you to, and that thought in your brain, as I was asking you to, became a thing. All the way down at the bottom of your feet. Your toes moved. So if that's happening, what else is happening on the way down? Every time I eat that, it gets me sick. Cold and flu season's coming. My mom has cancer. My dad has diabetes. I'll probably get it. Shh. Our body's listening. So if our body is listening, and it's always reacting to thought, I just proved it with you with the dream that I had as my body was having this crazy reaction, and I also proved it with you while we're conscious by wiggling your toes. Think about any sport you want to play. Think about any activity that you do. Think about physically moving in any way. Your body's only reacting to the thoughts. You're not actually thinking, like me as I stand here. I'm not thinking, as I record this with you and share this with you, I'm not thinking about all of the different muscles right now that are holding me upright as I stand. I'm not. I'm just asking my body to do that subconsciously, right? Because I want to stand up, and therefore I can. How does that work? That works via your nervous system. I have plenty of patients in wheelchairs that struggle to stand up. Why? Because there's a neurologic issue. However, the ones that I'm able to get out of wheelchairs pretty quickly are ones that I help envision to stand on their own. See it. Close your eyes. See it. See it. It's like, when I teach my son golf. Now, now he's teaching me. He's 12 and he's unbelievable at it. He kills me at sports. Anyway, it's another story. And initially, when I would teach him, I go, Liam, when you have to be the ball. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, you're thinking about the club just hitting the ball. You have to be the ball. I don't get it, Dad. No. You have to understand. Where do you want that ball to go? He goes, well, I'd like for it to fall in, 180 yards over there, right below it. Right, you know exactly where you want the ball, so see it there. Be the ball. Don't be the club. Let the club move you to where you want to go. Let your body move you to where you want to go. What do you want? What do you want in this thing called life? What kind of relationships do you want? Physical, emotional, spiritual, financial. What kind of relationship? We're surrounded by them. Hence getting weller, right? Healthy body, healthy mind, healthy relationships. If your mind's not healthy, if your body's not healthy, if your relationships are not healthy, what's the point of all this? To exist, to just be? I don't want to be that. I want to thrive. I want to be in the now. I want to present time conscious, so where you're always in the moment right now, and I'll tell you what I'm doing tomorrow. Again, your body is listening to you. So what do you want? Do you ever write down a journal? When you do that, you see what you want, and your body comes in agreement with that. This isn't this manifesting thing. Your body's listening right now. And if it's listening, what are you telling it? In the morning, we kind of get out of bed and kind of just do our thing and not even think about all of the beautiful things that happen the second your feet touch the floor. What are those? The fact that you can sit up and stand on your own, unassisted, is a gift. It is. And then you can walk to the bathroom and choose to put toothpaste onto the brush while you look at your waking up face is a gift. Heck, we all go to the bathroom pretty much first thing in the morning. When we do that, that's a gift. That's a gift because your body is doing what it's supposed to do, eliminating, processing all of the stuff that you gave it yesterday and preparing for today. It's doing that for you. So what are you doing for it? What are you eating? What are you drinking? What kind of physical moments do you have? Exercise. Yeah, I know. We should do that. And, people think the gym is, going to the gym or exercising or doing anything physical is a chore. I have to do that. No. It's a gift you're giving your body. When you're eating certain foods, it's a gift you're giving your body. When you're hanging out with somebody that's constructive for you, it's a gift that you're giving your body. So your body is always reacting to a thought. So why not fuel it the right way? And if you're not fueling it the right way, now you're asking it to work overtime. And you stress it. What happens? Your cortisol levels go higher. Your adrenals go nuts. And so your cortisol levels go higher. When they do that, you get an adrenal fatigue, which means you find yourself exhausted, tired. In other words, you're putting your car in neutral and hitting the gas. Yeah. And then your thyroid says, I can't keep up with this. And it starts to get slower and sluggish. And you start to gain weight. And everything starts breaking down and you're craving sugar. Why? Because you need more energy. The body's listening. It's going to do all that it wants for you based on your thoughts. What are you giving it? If you're not having healthy thoughts, right, and this innate brain is always going to react, right? So the subconscious brain will always react. If your thoughts, you're educated is just conscious thinking. If your conscious thinking is not there at a constructive level, you're in trouble. On top of that, if something's structurally wrong with your spine and it's compromising your nervous system in which all of our thoughts travel, you're living a subpar life. You're living less than. And that's not how life is supposed to be at all. So I ask of you today, as we're wrapping this up, I am asking you today to think about the things that are taking away from your life. They could be people. They could be even family members. Yeah. They are. Maybe there's a certain food you need to eliminate because you find yourself, I need this every day. You don't need anything every day except for God, which is love. You need to have the love in your life. The love of people, the love of your work, the love of your family, the love of the food, the love of your body, the love of your relationship with Christ. That's what we have to have. And if we don't have that, there's always a sense of disconnect. Again, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm just trying to enjoy right now. And if I'm enjoying right now, then what is it in your life that you're finding that is taking you away from you? Trust me, I'm far from perfect. Far from perfect. Holy cow, I can tell you plenty of my, quote, flaws, but I don't live by them. I recognize them and do what I can to get them out. But there's no yeah buts. Stop. Quit your stinking thinking. There's no yeah buts. When your body is listening. So I got this. There's a woman recently that started care with me, and she has plenty of tumors. She has a bunch of different tumors. And so when I talked to her about these different tumors, I said, how did they grow? She says, what do you mean? I says, well, you keep calling them yours, so why can't you get rid of them? She's like, what do you mean I'm calling them yours? I said, you're calling them mine. My cancer. You just said my cancer. It's not your cancer. It's your body's problem, not yours. You're just living in this thing. However, it's not your mind's problem because you're the one creating the thoughts. It's your problem when your thoughts get in the way. So we have to focus on what we're thinking about. It's no different than that woman. What does your life look like without cancer? I could do this, I could do that, I can do this. Let's go do those things. And when you start doing those things, you're living a life without cancer. And she looks at me like I'm crazy. And you have to understand, thoughts are things. All right, I'm going to go way left field right now on this. Way left field. Holy cow. Oh, man. This woman who I've talked about with this cancer, she was very much in her way, very much defeated, very, very, very rich, obscenely rich. And she's sitting down with me. And so she's just fighting me. Her arms are crossed. She's just fighting me. And I said, well, help me here. Like, help me. I said, let me in a little bit. I said, everything you've done up to now has failed. I'm not saying I'm the answer, but I might be a answer or maybe the answer you're looking for. I don't know. So let's see. Again, I have a bunch of different ideas with people that are suffering in many different ways. And then I help them along the way of the things that I think that may be constructive for them. That's it. Doctor means educator. That's all doctor means. I try to educate people to make better decisions. Period. So I sit down with her and I'm 2-3 feet from her. I'm really close to her because I feel her. I'm getting in her space. And like I said, her arms are crossed. She's just sitting there like this. And I'm like, okay, stop. And she's like, excuse me? You should say I'm very corporate, type A. Again, multi-millionaire, owns, I don't even know how many companies she has. There was a ton. She stopped at 10 when she was listing all these companies. She doesn't know what to do with her money. And isn't it amazing that with all of the money she has, you can't buy your health? Can't do it. Like it was given to you for free? I always think about school. You start school with an A. You can only take away from that A. You start life with an A, but you can only take away from that with our thoughts and the things that we give our body and the stress and allow other things and sin and toxic come into your life. And so I'm looking at her and I said, I need to share something with you. I really do. And she's like, okay. And I said, this is so outside of any of the conversation you probably ever had with any doctor. And just bear with me. And she's like, okay. I said, so crazy story. I'm with my friend and this is nuts. Now I'm making all of this up, by the way. Ready, people? You have to hear this. I'm making all of this up. I'm playing poker face, creating a story on the fly. Ready? Here it is. So crazy story. It's just what came to me when I was talking to her. Again, I'm making this up. So people are going to post, oh, Weller said this. No, gosh, it's a story. People. So here I was down in Florida a few months ago. Again, I'm making this story up to her. And so I'm with my buddy, and it's his wedding. And so I was with another friend who's standing up in the wedding who is really, really sick. He's really sick. And he's got some organ malfunction, kidney issues. He's having a bunch of different things, and he's sick, and he's in his 30s. And again, I'm making this up. And so we're down in Florida. And we're having a few beverages, and now it's late at night after the wedding. We're down by the beach, and we decide to go down to the ocean, and we gotta pee. And he's like, dude, let's go to the ocean. I'm like, okay. He goes, I gotta pee. I'm like, let's go. So we're down in the ocean, and we're peeing, and it's just pitch black at night, and looking at the stars, and we're just sitting there and just, with our, quote, buzz on, and I turn over to him, and I start urinating on his leg. And he doesn't know yet because he's in the ocean. Ocean waters are hitting him. I'm making this up. And so here he is next to me, and he turns and looks, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he just gets all mad at me, and he leaves. So a few days later, we were just chatting about it, and he was still frustrated with me. And he calls me up, and he says, I need to share something with you. I don't know what's going on right now. This is the craziest thing I need to share with you. He said, yeah. I said, what? Like what? I just went to the doctor and they can't find it. I go, can't find what? The tumor? He goes, yeah, tumor's gone. He's like, I've done nothing different. They said there's nothing more we can do. The only thing it's craziness. I said, okay. He goes, dude, there's something going on with your urine. That's the only thing that I've done. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. It's the only thing I can think of. Again, I'm making this up. And I'm looking at her, and she's looking at me like I'm crazy, as you can imagine, right? And so this is nuts. And so I look at her, I said, I tried this with several other patients of mine, people who are very, very sick. I had a urine when I had to go to urinate. We went in the back alley, and I had them take their shoes, socks and shoes off, and I urinated on their feet, and their problems went away. And she's like, what? I said, oh yeah, poker face. I'm looking right at her. Poker face. And I said, okay, today it'll be on me. The first session's on me. So I need you to take your socks and shoes off, and let's go in the alley. And I need to pee. So let's go, and I'll urinate on your feet. And she looks at me, and she's like, looks over at her husband, and she looks back at me. She's like, are you serious right now? I said, oh, no. I'm serious as cancer. I said, I'm super serious. So you've got tumors. They're all cancerous malignant tumors. So let's get started. I said, I'm going to restore neurologic function. Don't get me wrong, but there's some sort of power in my urine, and we need to get the ball rolling. Yeah. Could you imagine me telling that to you, or telling that to her and seeing her face? I mean, could you imagine that, right? And so now I'm looking at her and not saying anything. Poker face. I just put my chips in the center, and now you say nothing. You wait for the other person to react to how you play your hand, and that's exactly what I'm doing with her. And she's looking at me and she's like, this is ridiculous. I said, you want to know why it's ridiculous? I'll share it with you. The ridiculousness is not this made-up story I just told you. I made that up. The ridiculousness is this. If I was in your situation, you know what I would do? Anything. So if some weirdo told me that there's power in their urine, I'm running to wherever they are, and I will try it. Because what do you have to lose besides your life? Yeah. So we went on with care and started. Upper cervical care is what I do, and made the adjustment to her spine, restored neurologic function. It was awesome. I mean, neurologically, her spine went clear. And she was having a ton of pain in the middle of her back, hence where she had her largest tumor. And a few days later, she calls me up and she said, this isn't working. I said, what's not working? She goes, what you do? I said, oh, no, it's working. I said, I've got before and after data showing you of what I'm finding neurologically with your spine. What we've done was completely constructive for your nervous system. I said, but again, all processes take time. If it takes time to get sick, it must take time to get better. I call it weller, right? It absolutely must. All processes, good or bad, take time. I said, your tumor, as large as it is, did not start that large. It started microscopic, and it began to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. So it needs to ungrow. It takes time. She's like, I just can't take this anymore. I'm done. I'm like, what do you mean you're done? I'm done. So ready? Remember I talked about thoughts are things. Body comes in agreement with your thoughts. Always, always, always. Here's the ultimate proof. She walks herself. Who does this? Drives herself, gets out of the car, walks into hospice center, signs herself in, and says, I'm ready to die. Thoughts become things. I'm ready to die. I'm done. I've exhausted everything. I can't take this pain anymore. I'm done. The body says, okay. Signs herself in with her millions and millions and millions of dollars. Yeah, and dies 6 weeks later. That's a true story. And so when I think of it hurt my heart so bad, I couldn't get through. As obnoxious as that urinating story was, I couldn't get through. And I tried, because when thoughts become things, good or bad, it could add to your life or take your life. So I want you to think. This is why I always talk about getting Weller's 7 days of success. Motivational Monday. What are you motivated for? Gratitude Tuesday. What are you grateful for? What if Wednesday? What if you asked for that raise? Or what if you let go of that grudge? Or what if you did something outside of the box of you? Transformation Thursday. What are you willing to let go of so you can move forward into this thing called life? It's called transforming. Freedom Friday. I like to be free to do whatever I want. That's how I do it. Spontaneous Saturday. Why do you, instead of planning something, how do you get, a little spontaneity in your life? And then slow down Sunday. Reflect, start. The first day of the week is Sunday. You slow down a little bit and have some God time. It's kind of important, just a little bit. And so when I talk to all of these different people over the years, you have to pick a theme for the day because your body is listening. So I ask, on this day, smile right now. I don't care what time of day it is. I don't care what you're doing. Smile right now for me. And say to yourself, like I do, Eddie, I do this with myself. I lay down, Eddie, I love you, man. I do. And it's not an ego thing. I just love you. Because when you love yourself enough, you can share it. Because your thoughts are things. I want good for my life. I want my body to do the best it can with what it has. I want people around me to be thriving and happy and full of love. I want, people are like, well, you're an illusion world. Yeah, I am in an illusional world. I like this. I call it the getting weller world. Yeah, I like to be there. That's where I choose to be. You're always so happy. Well, I can be miserable too. It's a choice. And if it's a choice, my body is listening, and I'm very conscious of that. And if I'm very aware of how my body's listening, then we need to stop and slow down. And I'm going to talk more about this in a future episodes on the physiology of how our body's listening. Stuff that it changes without us thinking about it, and I'll show you different ways. But just stop. Just stop right now with any negative thought you may have about something, someone. It could be a career, it could be somebody at work, could be somebody who cut you off, could be a past, somebody who hurt you in a relationship. I don't care what it is. Just stop right now and just take a big deep breath. Know that God wants you happy, and God will illuminate your path if you just let Him. So when people say let go and let God, truly do that. And when you do that, you find yourself going, it's not that bad. I can do this. Because not all storms last forever. Not all storms last forever. I recently learned, I was talking to a friend of mine about the bison versus the cow. When the rain's coming over the farm, or in wherever they're at, out in the wild, the bison herd up together and they run into the storm. They run into the storm because they know as the storm is passing, if they go through the storm will go past them quicker, faster. However, the cows don't do that. They sit, find somewhere under a tree to get out of the rain, and just endure it. So that's your choice. What do you want to continue to endure? Or do you want to just go through it and say, I'm done? Because your body's listening. Think on those things. Until then, smile, know that you are loved, know that you're here on purpose, and know that God loves you. My name's Dr. Eddie Weller. Have an awesome, awesome day.